Hello, my name is Barry Good from the London School of Business and Finance, and today we're going to look at metrics, which is lesson 9 of the Strategic Planning MBA module. We're going to start with a quote which helps frame the topic of discussion for today. However beautiful you are, you should always check in the mirror from time to time. And this is true of organisations. No matter how successful a company might be in the workplace or the marketplace, it's important always to look at where you are, where you're going, and just checking that the activity that you're engaged in is relevant to the business model that you're operating to. So the outcomes for this module are, firstly, to understand the importance of key performance metrics and appreciation of how these metrics govern behaviour. Now, there are several concepts supporting metrics. First concept is to have no metrics at all and to leave the business in chaos. Now, quite clearly, that's not a good business strategy because it's important to know that what you're doing is adding value in the right places. Often, we talk about setting smart objectives and having performance measures in place which help us to understand whether people are behaving in the right way. But it's also important to ensure that individual objectives translate and are reflective of what the overall business plan is. Some organisations have a concept of having minimal metrics. This can be useful, particularly in areas of high creativity and innovation, where you don't want performance measures to stifle an individual's creative flair. So quite often advertising or innovative businesses, there might be some very loose metrics around what has to be delivered at the end of a process, rather than trying to regiment the actual process itself with lots of performance figures and performance metrics. Most companies, however, go with a balanced approach, and they look at a range of performance metrics across the organisation. Quite often, that might include things like quantity, outputs, quality measures, measures of efficiency, measures of waste, for example, as well as financial measures such as turnover, sales, profitability. So in terms of type of measures, there are both qualitative and quantitative measures that give a 360-degree view of how well the company is doing, whether it's on track, and whether it's going in the right direction. The aspect of metrics is also having the right frequency of reporting in place. Change obviously takes time to become effective, so it's important to have the right timeline around measures of success or factors relating to change. So reporting frequency can be important to understand that you're measuring the right thing over the right timeline and observing the right behaviour. The other thing to consider is that measures drive human behaviour. For example, if you are incentivising your workforce by putting a quantity versus money metric in place, i.e. the more you make, the more money you make, then the motivation there for behaviour is that people will produce more. However, that has to be taken in balance, because as soon as you drive performance through money and quantity, that impacts on other performance measures such as quality. So why bother with metrics in the first place? Firstly, metrics can help provide a degree of control over human activity. If you've got performance measures in place and people buy into them, then that will shape their behaviour and how they behave in the workplace. So as part of a performance management process, having clear objectives set and having a clear understanding of how performance is going to be measured through metrics can be a very effective way of managing and controlling human behaviour in the workplace. Measures can also be very effective in the realignment of strategy with the market. If you know what the market is trying to do and how that should be shaping behaviour, if you put the right metrics in place around that, you can balance the effectiveness of organisational intervention. So is the organisation doing the right thing? And you can determine whether that is true by putting the appropriate metrics in place. and the market in turn defines what those metrics should be. Ultimately, metrics are essential for measuring success and failure, whether that be in terms of what you're currently working toward, or whether you're achieving the right amount of progress to a revision of the business strategy or business plans. Also, our stakeholders require that metrics are in place. Stakeholders at the end of the day are looking often for return on investment, they're looking for shareholder value, they're looking for indications of profitability and prosperity. So it's important to have the right financial measures in place to encourage things like outside investment in the organisation. Measures can also be essential for things like strategy redevelopment. If the company isn't behaving the way it should be in relation to market forces, then often an organisation can get early visibility of that because it's reflected through the performance measures that the business is working to. Also, having good performance measures in place looks good. So when you're negotiating with third parties or suppliers or customers or financiers, if you've got good performance metrics which underpin the stability of the organisation, then that puts the business in a very positive frame of mind. So what types of metrics are there? Basically, metrics can take many shapes and forms. As we've said already, they can be quantitative or qualitative in nature. And these are just but an example of some of the most popular performance metrics that a business might adopt. First and foremost, financial metrics are key to organisational success. Ultimately, an organisation has to be profitable and has to demonstrate that it's financially viable. So financial measures around turnover, profitability, etc. can give a very good indication of financial health and organisational stability. Customer feedback can also be an indication of company health. Positive customer feedback can provide a lot of information around what the business is doing right and what the business is doing wrong. Internal measures, employee surveys, 360-degree feedback are often types of measures that get implemented internally to provide an indication of internal company health. Innovation might be another metric that gets looked at, particularly if the company works in a fast-changing, fast-paced environment, whether it be perhaps an electronics or a telecommunications company where the market is very volatile and changes rapidly. Innovation and being able to take new product to market might be very important to a company's future. So getting an appreciation of how innovative the company is and whether it's keeping pace with what the competitors are doing can be quite an important metric to have in place. Brand awareness, brand perception is also an important key performance indicator, as too is the company's marketing strategy. How well the brand is understood, how well the business mission is understood, can also be indications of how well the company is perceived in the marketplace. Production metrics such as output, efficiency, scrappage, waste can also be important metrics to have in place which will impact on bottom line profitability. So if there is excessive amounts of waste or inefficiency within the business, they can be areas of future change management in order to tighten up those areas of operation. Increasingly, social responsibility is something that companies are having to consider more and more seriously. Stakeholders in businesses will often have a view if the company's operation impacts them in some way. So they may not be customers, but if they're affected by how a company operates, that might affect how they're perceived in the marketplace and also the brand that they take to market. And understanding social responsibility and adapting company behaviour to that can be the difference between being the chosen brand or not the chosen brand by the customer. Having a balanced view of metrics is very important. Having the right mix of metrics can provide the balance between profitability and a responsible operation. Specifying relevant metrics to the industry and the environment can be very important. And linking objectives to both operational and strategic plans can give an indication of whether the activity of our employees is providing value to the long-term position of the organisation in the marketplace. So what are the behavioural implications for metrics? Well, basically you get what you measure. If you're encouraging people within the organisation to produce more, then performance metrics will encourage that behaviour. However, if you're measuring the wrong aspect, you get the wrong behaviour. So productivity is about having output, but also sustaining quality within the product and service that you're offering. So it's important to have the right mix of metrics in terms of output versus quality. Linking success to the reward through metrics is a classic mistake for organisations if the wrong metrics have been defined in the first place. Staff will undertake the required behaviour to meet the metric, so it's important that the right metric is identified and endorsed and reinforced. So in summary, think carefully about what to measure within an organisation, how to measure it, and what it means when you communicate it. That will fundamentally influence how employees behave to the metrics. So it's important that to get the right behaviour, you implement the right metric in the first place. My name's Barry Good. This is Lesson 9 on metrics as part of the Strategic Planning MBA module.